In the summer of 1916, a German submarine surfaced in the Chesapeake Bay and the crew stepped ashore to attend a banquet. No warship, no torpedoes, no naval escort waiting to intercept them. The vessel was registered as a merchant ship, its cargo hold packed with synthetic dyes and pharmaceutical drugs, and it had just crossed the Atlantic to do business. Britain had spent 2 years building what it believed was an airtight naval blockade around Germany. Germany had just sailed straight through it, underwater, and then held a dinner party on the other side. The voyage of the Deutschland was the first and only time in history that open international trade was conducted by submarine. What followed was equal parts logistics triumph, diplomatic crisis, and genuine tragedy. And the strangest part? The whole scheme was dreamed up not by the German Navy but by a banker and a shipping executive who thought they could turn a wartime catastrophe into a profit. When Britain entered World War I in August 1914, it immediately moved to strangle the German economy. The Royal Navy established a naval blockade that sealed German ports from outside trade. It was not a clean cordon. It was a slow, systematic suffocation. Germany's industrial machine ran on imported raw materials: tin for shell casings, rubber for vehicles and equipment, copper for electrical components. Within 2 years, German factories were running short of all of it. Civilian life buckled too. Food imports dropped. Prices rose. The blockade was doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem for Germany was geography. Every surface ship attempting to carry cargo into a German port had to pass through waters dominated by the Royal Navy. There was no obvious route around it. But there was a route under it. Germany had built some of the most capable submarines in the world. The Navy used them to sink Allied shipping. The U-boat campaign was already in full swing. But someone in the civilian world asked a different question. What if you stripped the weapons out, loaded the submarine with cargo, and sailed it to a neutral country? That country would be the United States. In 1916, America had not yet entered the war. Under international law, a neutral nation could trade freely with either side. If Germany could reach an American port without being intercepted, every transaction would be entirely legal. The British blockade existed at the surface. Below the surface, there was nothing stopping anyone. The idea did not come from an admiral. It came from Alfred Lohmann, president of the Bremen Chamber of Commerce, who conceived it in late 1915. Lohmann brought in 2 of Germany's most powerful commercial institutions. North German Lloyd, Norddeutscher Lloyd, was one of the great transatlantic shipping companies of the era, already crippled by the war because its surface fleet sat idle in port. Deutsche Bank provided the financial architecture. Together, they incorporated a subsidiary company called Deutsche Ozean Reederei, abbreviated to DOR, in early 1916. The board included Lohmann himself, Philipp Heineken as general manager representing North German Lloyd, and representatives from Deutsche Bank. Their plan was straightforward on paper: build purpose-built cargo submarines, sail them to the United States, sell German goods that Americans desperately wanted, buy American raw materials that Germany desperately needed, and bring them home under the ocean. 7 large submarines were ordered. 5 were eventually converted into conventional armed warships. Only 2 were completed as unarmed cargo submarines, the Deutschland and her sister ship, Bremen. The Deutschland was ordered on October 27, 1915, built at Flensburger Schiffbau in Flensburg and launched on March 28, 1916. She was 65 meters long, displaced over 1,500 tons on the surface, and could carry 700 tons of cargo. She carried no weapons of any kind. Her captain was Paul Koenig, a veteran of the merchant service with North German Lloyd. He was not a naval officer. He was a shipping captain given command of the most unusual vessel in the world. On June 23, 1916, the Deutschland left Bremerhaven. She did not head straight for the open Atlantic. First, she stopped at the island of Heligoland in the North Sea and waited approximately 9 days. The purpose was to let British patrol patterns settle and then slip through a gap. When she finally moved, she took a northern route, up and around Scotland, well away from the heavily patrolled English Channel. The crossing itself was remarkable for how ordinary it was. Of the entire round trip, 8,450 nautical miles, the Deutschland spent only 190 nautical miles submerged. She ran surfaced for almost all of it. The British blockade was designed to stop surface ships. A submarine running on the surface at sea simply did not register as the kind of target the Royal Navy was looking for. In the early hours of July 9, 1916, the Deutschland surfaced near Cape Henry, Virginia. A tugboat called the Thomas F. Timmins was waiting to escort her in, arranged in advance by Captain F. Hinch, master of a Norddeutscher Lloyd steamer already docked at Baltimore. By the end of that same day, the Deutschland was anchored at the quarantine station at Marley Neck outside Baltimore, flying the Imperial German flag. The following morning, July 10th, Baltimore woke up to the news. A German submarine was sitting in the Chesapeake Bay, and it had come to go shopping. The crew of 29 were treated like celebrities. Baltimore's German-American community threw a Volksfest in their honor. The officers attended banquets. Captain Koenig gave interviews. Journalists and dignitaries lined up to tour the vessel. But not everyone was celebrating. British and French diplomats immediately demanded that American authorities intern the Deutschland and her crew as a belligerent vessel. Their argument was technical but pointed. Submarines could not be properly boarded and searched for contraband the way surface ships could, so the vessel should be treated as a warship regardless of whether it carried weapons. The U.S. government rejected the argument. An unarmed merchant vessel was an unarmed merchant vessel. International law was clear. The Deutschland was free to conduct her business. The outbound cargo she had brought from Germany was worth approximately $1.5 million in 1916 values. It included 125 tons of synthetic dyes, anthraquinone and alizarin, which the American textile industry had sourced from Germany before the war and had been unable to replace. It also included pharmaceuticals, among them salvarsan, along with precious gemstones and diplomatic mail. American submarine pioneer Simon Lake visited the Deutschland in Baltimore and struck an agreement with North German Lloyd representatives to build cargo submarines inside the United States. The scheme never moved forward. Events would overtake it. On August 2, 1916, the Deutschland departed Baltimore. Her hold now contained 341 tons of nickel, 93 tons of tin, and 348 tons of crude rubber, raw materials Germany's war economy desperately needed. Total value, approximately $17.5 million. The blockade had been broken in both directions for a profit. While the Deutschland was making her return crossing, she arrived back in Germany on August 24, 1916. The second cargo submarine was already being prepared for her own voyage. The Bremen departed Bremerhaven in September 1916, bound for Norfolk, Virginia. She was carrying financial credits intended to fund Simon Lake's cargo submarine construction scheme in America. She never arrived. No signal, no wreckage, no survivors. A life preserver stenciled with the name Bremen washed ashore at Maiden Cove, Cape Elizabeth, Maine, on September 29, 1916. That was all. 3 theories have circulated ever since. One holds that the Bremen was rammed by the British armed merchant cruiser HMS Mantua south of Iceland. But the official log of HMS Mantua contains no mention of any such incident, which makes this account almost certainly a myth. A second theory points to the British submarine HMS G13 on patrol off Shetland. A third suggests she struck a mine. No firm evidence supports any of them. The cause of the Bremen's loss remains officially unknown. With the loss of the Bremen, Deutsche Ozean Reederei's fleet was halved. The Deutschland was the only card left to play. The Deutschland completed her second Atlantic crossing, arriving in New London, Connecticut, in the early morning hours of November 17, 1916. Her inbound cargo this time included gemstones, securities, and medicinal products valued at approximately $10 million. The diplomatic protests in New London mirrored those in Baltimore. American authorities again ruled in Germany's favor. The Deutschland took on her return cargo, which included 6.5 tons of silver bullion, and prepared to depart. What happened next was not a British maneuver or a diplomatic reversal. It was an accident. As the Deutschland was being maneuvered out of New London on November 17th, the tugboat T.A. Scott Jr. crossed her path in a narrow stretch of water between Fisher and Little Gull Islands in Long Island Sound. The submarine struck the tug and split her in two. The boilers exploded. The tugboat sank in 3 minutes. 5 crew members of the tug died. The Deutschland sustained bow damage and returned to New London for repairs. She departed again on November 21, 1916, and completed her return voyage to Germany. A third voyage was planned. It was canceled. Relations between the United States and Germany had deteriorated sharply, and the entire premise of the operation, American neutrality, was collapsing. On April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany. The legal window that had made commercial submarine trade possible ceased to exist. With the merchant operation closed, Deutsche Ozean Reederei's one remaining asset was a large, capable submarine sitting in a German shipyard. On February 19, 1917, the Deutschland was transferred to the Imperial German Navy and redesignated U-155. Workers removed the cargo equipment and installed 6 torpedo tubes, 18 torpedoes, and 2 15-centimeter deck guns. The former merchant submarine completed 3 war patrols. She sank 43 merchant ships, totaling just over 120,000 gross register tons, and damaged 3 more. It was a significant record for any U-boat. Germany signed the armistice on November 11, 1918. 13 days later, on November 24th, U-155 surrendered to the British at Harwich. The British subsequently exhibited her in London and Liverpool. The former merchant submarine turned U-boat turned war trophy, now drawing curious crowds. She was eventually sold for scrapping, broken up at Birkenhead and Rock Ferry between 1919 and 1922. During the scrapping work on September 17, 1921, an accidental explosion in the engine room is reported to have claimed the lives of 5 workers. The Deutschland had started as a commercial venture. She ended as scrap metal, having spent her final years doing considerable violence to the Allied merchant fleet she was once trying to trade with. Here is what makes the story of the Deutschland genuinely strange. It worked. Not the war, not the blockade, not the ultimate fate of Germany or its navy. The specific narrow proposition that Alfred Lohmann brought to Deutsche Bank and North German Lloyd in late 1915, that an unarmed cargo submarine could cross the Atlantic, conduct legal trade with a neutral country and return home, was tested twice and succeeded both times. The 2 commercial voyages of 1916 remain to this day the only occasions in history when open international trade was conducted by submarine. Axis powers exchanged materials by submarine during the Second World War, but that was wartime resupply between allies, not open commercial trade. Nothing like the Deutschland voyages has been attempted since. The Cold Open asked why any of this mattered. Here is the answer. Britain had constructed what it believed was a complete economic siege. Germany found a gap the size of a submarine. One vessel on 2 round trips moved hundreds of tons of nickel, tin, and rubber that Germany's war machine needed, and it did so in full public view with diplomatic immunity while the crew attended dinner parties. The scheme collapsed not because anyone stopped it, but because the world changed. America entered the war. The legal ground disappeared. For a few months in 1916, a banker's idea and a shipping company's engineering had quietly made the Royal Navy irrelevant. 65 meters below the surface of the Atlantic,